you poison me and I'm dying and I stab you in the neck, but somehow I survive, am I going to be charged with your murder?
Yep.
But you tried to kill me first.
So?
What do you mean so? That's
legal theory.
Self-defense?
The legal theory is so. No, it's not self-defense.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Doug Defends, the show where a real lawyer talks about fake things. I am Billy Business, and say his name 3 times, and he will appear. Doug Ridley, Doug Ridley, Doug Ridley.
Oh, and here I am. That was my attempt to be Beetlejuice.
That sounds like Animal from the Muppets.
Yeah. Same hair.
Sure, you're right. Different shade, but same hair. You're right. So today we are talking about Beetlejuice, obviously Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder. We're also talking about the sequel, which came much later. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, that added Jenna Ortega, Justin Theroux. Oh, and how could I forget Catherine O'Hara? I mean, she kind of steals both those movies.
Agreed,
you know?
yeah. No question about it.
She's fantastic. Directed by the great...
And Monica Bellucci.
Monica Bellucci. Hey, look. If you get a smoking hot girlfriend like Monica Bellucci, you're going to put her in your movie. Good for you, Tim Burton.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we're going to be talking about these movies. Beetlejuice, one of my favorites. Did you see Beetlejuice?
Oh,
the first one it came out?
I did, and I was a fan. I actually dressed up as Beetlejuice for Halloween. I remember I was waiting tables at the time, and down in the OC, and we were allowed to wear costumes, and so I went all out and got moss on my face and had Beetlejuice wig and it was crazy. I went all in on making myself look like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I remember Beetlejuice being a huge part of the marketing for Universal Studios. If you saw a commercial and there were costume characters, Beetlejuice was always front and center. That's kind of my earliest memories. And then of course the cartoon, I think I saw the cartoon way before I ever saw the movies.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen the cartoon.
It's very different. It's a different, in this one, Beetlejuice is less antagonistic to Lydia. They're actually kind of friends.
Oh, okay.
And he's much more Jim Carrey energy than kind of that Michael Keaton kind of gravelly. He's much more Beetlejuice, you know? So today we're only going to be focusing on the films because cartoon Beetlejuice, he's annoying, but he's not a bad guy.
Okay.
Movie Beetlejuice.
It's a bad guy.
Boy. Oh. Yeah, we're going to get into it. Your favorite bioexorcist. So let's talk a little bit about his bioexorcism business here.
Just as a concept, it's amazing. I mean, I feel like this could be used in the real world just with somebody being annoying enough to get rid of a neighbor.
Okay, well, wait. That's an interesting place to start. Getting rid of an annoying neighbor, legally, there's nothing really you can do.
I mean, not get rid of. I mean,
right.
but I mean, what Beetlejuice's business is he's trying to encourage the living to leave by haunting the houses. I mean, right?
I mean that's harassing them until they leave.
Harassing them until they leave. And I have had quite a few cases where people start with being annoying to each other and turning up loud music, and then all of a sudden somebody's building a bonfire in their backyard and playing music all night or screaming at the top of their lungs or and then they get restraining orders against each other, and then they violate the restraining orders, and I've had people actually do jail time for being annoying neighbors. So this has a real world equivalent. It just is, you can't really hire somebody to do it so much.
Now, let me ask you this. Can you kind of define harassment? Because, could I pay someone, if I didn't like you, I love Doug, but if I didn't like you, Could I pay someone to just follow you around all day? They never step on your property, but they follow you around all day and just go, "You suck. You suck. You suck."
No.
I can't do that.
No, you
Why
can't.
not?
Don't do that. It's a bad idea.
How? But
Don't do that.
How? Where's like the legal line of harassment?
Right when. Right.
So I can't tell you suck. Like that's her. If I just like, this happens all the time. Someone cuts me off and I'm just like, "You suck."
Yeah.
And I roll down my window to make sure they know that I know that they suck.
You gave them a withering glare.
Yeah. So it's like if I pay someone to just tell you suck, they have the freedom of speech. They can say it, right?
Yeah. They can say it the once.
You can only tell someone they suck one time.
And there's not a legal limit on the number of times.
Okay.
But if you paid somebody to follow me around all day, you can bet your ass that number one, I would be calling the police.
Okay.
I would be saying this person is making me afraid for my safety because no rational person would be doing this. And if I found out that you had hired that person, I would make sure that you're both connected on that.
But there is a rational reason.
Right.
The reason
is I suck.
Yeah, the reason is I want you to know. I know it sounds like I'm being really facetious and annoying here.
No,
pedantic,
I'm laughing the way I am because I know you're serious about it.
But
I can absolutely see this
legally,
happening.
officer, I have been hired to let this gentleman know that my client thinks that he sucks, and I am well within my legal rights of freedom of speech to say that to him. I have no weapons on me. I have no history of violence. I have no intent of violence.
Yeah, and then at some point,
Right.
a
Can you
lot of
legally
times,
be annoying? I think is the core of this.
I love everything about this
Yes.
question. So. We get people who call us from time to time. We don't do restraining orders here at Ridley Defense, but we do end up talking with people about them, quite a bit because they ask about things like that.
Right.
And a lot of times when they try to get law enforcement involved in something along those lines, the response from law enforcement is, well, there wasn't really a threat, so this is a civil matter is what we hear a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't hear it firsthand, but we hear, clients have repeated that to me more times than I can count. So then there is a restraining order process, and threats definitely rise to the top of the level, but there is a point, and every judge is going to have a different threshold on this, where if you can articulate a pattern of behavior with exactly what you're describing, then that is harassment at some point. And the question is at what point? And every judge is going to have a slightly different viewpoint of that. It's the same thing for people online stalking and all of those sorts of things, the harassment, I actually love our comment thread on the YouTube and on all of our social media. By the way, that's me responding to you, just so we're clear. But at some point, then it does become a harassment, and it's the job of a good lawyer to articulate that to a judge and convince a judge that, yeah, this is getting to the level where that's beyond what a normal person should have to put up with.
So let's talk about stalking. You brought up stalking. Let's talk about that. And real quick, just in case you haven't seen Beetlejuice in a long time, or you didn't see Beetlejuice, in Beetlejuice, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, they are a couple. They die. But their ghosts are kind of stuck to their house. A new family comes in. They inadvertently kind of hire Beetlejuice to scare away the family. Beetlejuice wants to marry the youngest daughter, Winona Ryder, so that he's free from the netherworld. Hijinks ensue. In Beetlejuice, it's been 30 years later. Beetlejuice is still kind of stalking Lydia, Winona Ryder. There's a lot of plot threads that go on.
I was going to wonder how,
yeah.
I mean, because you did a really good job of summarizing Beetlejuice, the original Beetlejuice.
Right.
I want to hear you summarize the plot for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice.
Okay. Which one?
Because there's like,
There's
good
like
solid
3
7,
different
8.
plots. Yeah. But Beetlejuice does still have that goal of
Right.
marrying Lydia to get to be able to stay in our world and
Right.
be unbanished, right? So the beginning of the movie of Beetlejuice, Winona Ryder, she kind of sees Beetlejuice, and she kind of chalks it up to PTSD, like
Right.
I'm just seeing things. But then we find out Beetlejuice is like, no, I'm actually kind of popping up and like I'm reminding you that I'm still always here. Stalking? What is stalking compared to what we just talked about?
So for stalking, you have to have that threat in order, and it has to actually produce fear in the person. So it's defined as following or harassing, but then that's kind of where it gets a little sticky. Is it just following someone around? What constitutes harassing? Those are all questions that the jury would have to answer and decide that pattern and practice constituted that.
Would you consider him popping up at the beginning of Beetlejuice as stalking her?
I don't think so, because it didn't seem as much of a threat as much as it is, I mean, he almost seems like he has fallen in love with her. I mean, he has the picture of her on his desk at that point.
Right.
So it seems less now about I'm trying to kidnap the 15-year-old and make her marry me, and a little bit more of I've been obsessed with this girl for 30 years and I have a picture of her on my desk, and I'm going to show up every once in a while to remind her that I'm weird or whatever it is that he's doing.
Right.
So what he's doing there, I don't think it doesn't count as stalking, because there's no threat, and even though it scares her and even though it gets into PTSD, the threat element is missing, so it wouldn't be considered that. Now, if she ended up having a court order or a restraining order or something like that against him, and they did that, and then there was the repeated stalking, that's an additional punishment, and that would be something a little different. But still, the threat element still has to exist.
So let's go back to kind of the original thought of all this, which is Beetlejuice's bioexorcism business, which first of all, he has no license for this. He just kind of made it up. So
how do we know that? Do we know that he's not a licensed Afterlife bioexorcist? Dude, I mean, maybe that's going to be the plot line of Beetlejuice, because, at that point he will appear.
Yes.
But then, or maybe they'll do like Beetlejuice cubed, so that they don't have to say his name 3 times. But if they had the plot of the next Tim Burton sequel to this be, the licensing division of bioexorcism.
Okay, well, I mean, that's kind of seems like where he is when we first see him in Beetlejuice. Like, it seems a lot more like an operation.
Yeah.
I'm just going to assume in the first movie, at least, that he does not have a license.
All right.
Let's assume he doesn't.
Okay.
God, that's the longest way around of just saying, let's just assume he does not. The verbal contracts that he makes with the Maitlands, does it hold up if he's not a licensed contractor?
No. And in fact, if we're dealing specifically with a licensed contractor, there are tons of reasons to void those contracts. Right. And I've actually even seen criminal prosecutions of people doing contracting services, building houses, whatever, without a license. Mm-hmm. And so, I've had conversations with prosecutors who believe that anything that they do without a license when they're supposed to be licensed for it is more crime and all of that. So he would be busted for all of those things. Assuming, of course, that I mean, so that doesn't even deal with the verbal part of the contract as much as it deals with him just being busted for doing things without a license.
Sure.
Now, we have rules about contracts and whether contracts can be verbal or whether they can be written. A contract can be verbal, and the times where a contract has to be written is when it's above a certain dollar amount, or if it's for real estate, or there's a handful of other reasons too. But something like this for bioexorcism, I don't. There's not something in the code, believe it or not, that says that a bioexorcism contract has to be in writing. So yeah.
So let me ask you this then: if the Maitlands hire Beetlejuice, they don't really know what they're getting into when they make this deal, even though they're warned by Juno, their caseworker.
Yes,
but they still do it. Beetlejuice theoretically uses very illegal tactics to do what he does. Are the Maitlands responsible? If I hire a contractor, whether he has a license or not, let's assume he does, but he uses illegal means to finish the job, is he in trouble, or am I in trouble because I'm the one that hired him?
Well, if we're talking about a contractor from the standpoint of somebody who builds houses, it's so far different from this. If we rotated it a bit and said, let's say that you hired someone to be your personal bodyguard.
Okay.
Right? Because you're, building business and
I need protection.
Well, you do, especially after some of the things you said in that last episode. But, but let's say that your hired personal protector goes overboard and just starts, clearing aisles at the grocery store and pushing people down and going. Yeah. I think that's maybe the best example of what Beetlejuice is doing, right? You don't want that guy because he has a reputation for going way above and beyond what you're supposed to be able to do, I guess, to scare humans out of your house.
Sure.
So, according to the book of the recently deceased. So, are you responsible? Yes, you would be responsible because he is your agent, and not agent as in like, Agent 007, but as in somebody who you have hired to act on your behalf. So if you have hired this person to act on your behalf and they go and do crazy things, they are your agent. You're legally responsible for them.
But is Beetlejuice still responsible as well?
Yes.
Like all three of them, essentially.
All three of them would be responsible. Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting too, and curious what you think, being a lawyer, the legal aspect of contracts kind of does play a big part in these films, especially that's how they get rid of Beetlejuice at the end of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, which is he makes a deal. Lydia says, fine, I will finally marry you if you take me into the afterlife so I can get my daughter out. But Beetlejuice crossing over to even talk with her, I guess, is illegal. And so that contract is null and void. Like, were you just like, yeah, this all makes sense? Like, if someone commits a crime, essentially, when the contract is made, that contract is no good?
I can answer that question now, but the way you framed the question was I thinking about that at the time? And no way in hell was I thinking at the time, wow, I have suspended my disbelief to believe that Beetlejuice got Monica Bellucci, and then for some reason didn't want to stay with her.
She killed him. He was dying.
Yeah, I know.
And so he just killed her back.
Yeah, I get it, but I had suspended my disbelief to such a amazing place by that point that it was fine.
Is he legally allowed to kill her back, by the way? I mean, he's already dying. What has he got to lose, right?
Yes.
If you poison me and I'm dying and I stab you in the neck, but somehow I survive, am I going to be charged with your murder?
Yep.
But you tried to kill me first.
So?
So? What do you mean so? It's like
That's legal theory.
self-defense?
The legal
No?
theory is so. No, it's not self-defense.
I was stopping
Because
you
it's
from
not
doing it to someone else. She's
No,
a
you
soul-
weren't.
Yes, I was. Well, if it's her, if you are also a soul sucker cult leader and you're going to do this to other things, then yeah, I am stopping you
But
from
have
doing
you
this to
seen
someone
how
else.
pretty she is?
Well, I'm using you in this hypothetical.
Oh.
I'm picturing you all blue and stitched
So-
up, Doug.
Okay.
Yep.
If
Uh-huh.
you are stopping someone from killing somebody else right now,
Okay.
then it's an imminent, immediate threat. Then you are defending. It's a self-defense or defense of others. If it is in that moment. If somebody poisoned you and you have 2 hours to live, and you decide to knife them in the heart because, well, they killed you first, and no way of saving you. You
Sure.
are going to die in 2 hours.
Yes.
You're physically fine right
Yes.
now, but you're going to start feeling really bad, like really soon.
Sure.
And then you decide, because I've poisoned you, to stab me in the chest.
Because you're a danger to society.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
Uh-huh.
you're totally good for my murder. Zero defense.
That doesn't seem fair.
Well, sometimes it's not fair. Because you're not stopping me. I mean, yeah, somewhere down the line,
Yeah.
maybe I would end up killing somebody else. Maybe. But maybe I'm just focused on you.
I feel like I need to call like my congressman or something because this is not fair at all.
Yeah, there's a principle in the law that you deciding that you're going to kill bad people is not allowed.
It's like
legally.
vigilantism,
It's
essentially.
vigilantism, but even beyond that, because it's not just arresting or leaving them tied up to a bat signal. It's doing what the Punisher does. Which is killing people. So, and they don't deserve to live. That is so. Punisher's good for all of the murders because Punisher decided that those people don't get to live because they're dirtbags. That was and that was really the long way around of, no, you can't stab me just because I poisoned you and you're gonna die.
Well, that seems really unfair.
Okay,
Okay.
That's fair.
Well, now I'm like hypothetically mad at you. All right, so let's talk about.
It's like you had a bad dream about me last night and you're still angry about it.
Well, sometimes the law just sucks.
Yeah,
all right.
there we go. That's the one we're saving for the gram.
Okay, I'm not completely oblivious. Like, I know that Beetlejuice is no angel.
Yes.
So one of the worst things that he does is, in order to get out of that kind of dead netherworld and stay on our Earth, he tries to marry Lydia, who is, give or take, somewhere between 14 and 16, a minor. Now, I could be wrong on this. I don't know. But aren't there some places in the country where, as long as the parents consent, it's kind of like, sure, go for it. You're 14, he's 19, go get married.
Yes, there are some places that are like that. A lot of it depends on the age, and then a lot of it depends on the individual state laws. Here in California, if you're 16 or 17 and you have a parent's permission, and then you meet with a judge, and a judge signs off on it as well. So
I'm going to guess that's pretty rare that a judge would sign off.
Yeah, it would be pretty rare, but consider the example of somebody who graduated high school, turns 18 in the fall, so is younger for their age, and then wants to marry a good guy, just wants to get married right out of high school.
Sure.
Now, bad idea. Sure.
Yeah.
Bad idea, kids. Don't get married right out of high school. But Is that weird and illegal? I mean, that's a matter of months of difference between being 18 and being 17. So under those circumstances, there is that additional level of evaluation here in California. In other states, every state is different as far as what they require and what they don't, and whether they require parental consent or not. And generally, the rule is 18,
Right.
but with some exceptions.
That was me just asking, because in this movie, clearly those parents are not like, sure, go for it.
Sure. Yeah.
So now we're talking about a situation where this is like coercion or forced marriage is not the right term, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I do know. Yeah.
So not saying this is what happened here, but it's just like, I'm sure, especially like in Vegas or something, there's got to be marriages where like someone was under the influence or not in their right mind and was kind of forced into a marriage maybe they didn't want to be in. Like, what's kind of like the legal standpoint of that scenario?
Now, I will answer, but I will remind our viewers again that I am a criminal defense attorney and not a family law attorney.
Sure.
But I know from watching the television show Friends that you can get an annulment if you do it with enough time. But Ross is an idiot and couldn't have 3 divorces. And so he waited too long. So then he had to have a divorce rather than an annulment. So from my knowledge of Friends, I know that annulments are possible, but you have to do them quickly within a certain amount of time.
A real lawyer quotes Friends on a legal podcast.
It's actually correct.
Yes. Okay.
It is correct. The Friends rule is correct, and so
okay, fine. Let's
so an annulment, like a Vegas annulment, can be a Vegas wedding can be annulled.
Let's just take out the marriage part.
Yeah.
Altogether. Forcing someone into some sort of like a legal contract.
Right.
Now what are we talking about?
It voids the contract. So the contract doesn't even exist. So if you have to certify that you are signing something, that you are agreeing to something freely and voluntarily for it to be a legal contract. And so if somebody points a gun to your head and says, sign this contract, that contract is not valid because you were forced to do it. So, I don't remember exactly. I think Lydia said she would do it to like save the Maitlands and and her family and whatever. But all of that was coercion. So the second a good lawyer comes in and steps in, all of that would have been voided out and everything done.
Here's a question. I should know this because I'm married, but I don't know this actually.
Okay.
There's such a trope in TV and movies, and it happens in this movie, where it's like everything's okay as long as they don't say, you are now, by the power invested in me, you're now husband and wife. Like, they stop it right just in time. When are you legally married? At what point of the process? When you sign the certificate. So a lot of cases, then you're actually married like a couple weeks before your wedding.
Sometimes, yeah. But we as a culture decide that, the date that you have the ceremony is the date that you are officially married.
Uh-huh.
If a couple went to the courthouse and wanted to get just married with the judge, mm-hmm. They will do a ceremony because culturally we've decided that that's part of it. You could go in and say, hey, you know what? No ceremony. We both agree. Sign the paper. We want the least romantic wedding ceremony that's ever been in the history of ever. And it would still be a legally valid marriage if the certificate was signed.
All right, let's talk about property rights, what everybody loves, right?
Absolutely.
So there's a radio show, because apparently I'm old enough to listen to radio still. Bill Handle on the Law.
Handle on the Law.
I would say 90% of it is about wills, trusts, and where your stuff goes when you die.
I think that's why we intentionally talk about fake stuff here.
Yeah, because that's really most legal advice is I inherited this thing, how do I get it? Or my brother inherited this thing, how do I get it from him?
Right.
So the big part of Beetlejuice, the first movie, is that the Maitlands, they don't want to give up their house. It's their house.
Right.
But they died.
Right.
Now it's unclear. Maybe someone in the comments do the Doug, at BeetleBoy5457 hashtag can tell me. Was that good?
That was really good.
Okay,
that was a
thank you.
good Doug impression. I just do it a little faster because I channel the Superman monkeys.
I don't type as fast as you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
that's
Mavis
fair.
Beacon.
That's fair.
But anyways,
that was a deep dive.
so I don't know how long they go. Once they die, they find their handbook of the dead.
Yes.
They go to basically the dead DMV.
Right.
And they wait. They come back, and I don't know how much time has passed.
Right.
Some amount of time has passed. To me, it seems like the Dietzes move in pretty quick. But let's assume the Maitlands have died. That place has been left standing for a while. What's the legal process of them even being able to buy that house?
Yeah, so normally it would pass to heirs, right? Your heirs, your descendants, your family.
How deep will they go to look? Because obviously they didn't have kids.
Right. They didn't have kids.
Right.
If it's unclear who they bought it from, the Dietzes. You kind of got the sense that they bought it from the state, but
it's that really, pardon my French, that real bitch of a real estate lady that comes by at the very beginning. It's like, this house is too big for you. Be like, mind your business. You don't need to know how much
she's terrible.
Yeah.
She's terrible.
It seems like they bought it from her.
It does seem like that.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I mean, so it could have been. If somebody dies and they don't have any heirs, family, descendants, anything along those lines, then it goes to the state, and the state decides what to do with the property. So there would be a scenario where then the state could auction off its handful of properties, or I would imagine these days that doesn't happen as often, but where bitchy real estate lady picked up the house in an auction and then ended up selling it for double the price or something along those lines. Okay. I don't know. We assumed a lot in that hypothetical.
You kind of have to, but
Yeah, but I mean, but that's how the process would go, and because we don't have, they didn't include in the storyline that explanation. It could have been that third cousin twice removed Charlie ends up having the house and real estate later, then Dietzes bought it from that person. I mean, that's another way that it could have happened, but we know that their time in the afterlife took exactly long enough for all of those legal things to play out.
I mean, probate seems like it takes a long time, so it must have been a while.
It certainly does, but not every estate goes through probate, because sometimes if there's nobody that's claiming a right to any of the property, then I guess they would have had to have bought the house free and clear with no mortgage attached to it. I'm boring myself by listening to our handle on the law moment of Beetlejuice property rights. But
by the way, I love you, Bill Handel. Don't listen to the disrespect.
No. He's awesome. What he does is just
all right. Fine. You want to get
Beetlejuice?
You want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
So there's a lot of attempted murder here by a dead person.
There's so much attempted murder.
So much like in both movies.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. Let's assume Beetlejuice literally kills dead people, like, because he kills the kid in the second one.
Right.
My favorite line, which I won't say because I don't want to
get
demonetized.
Right. Yeah, we can't say that on the YouTube.
It was Dostoevsky who said, "Later,
but it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Let's assume Beetlejuice got caught by the authorities, right? Sentenced to death 2.0. Here's a question. I'm sure this has to have had happened at some point in our country's history. Someone gets the death penalty. They die. But they don't actually die. Like their heart stops, they die for like 2 minutes, and then they come back. Sentence over. You did die. You know?
No. And that's where there's a lot of litigation into the way in which we decide to do the death penalty, because they would have problems like that. I mean, putting someone on a firing squad, some states still allow that. And, it relies on people pulling triggers on guns and being accurate. There have been people that have survived gas. There have been people that have survived electric chairs, and all of those things. And terrible, awful stories of them having to, all right, well, pull the switch again, or then there's also a discussion to be had. Like, so what do? We administered a lethal dose of this, injectable drug, but it didn't work. Are we authorized to do a second one? Are we authorized to do a fifth one? Are we authorized to switch gears halfway through? So people who are against the death penalty can give lists and lists and lists about all of the reasons why it's inhumane because of that. Even beyond the morals of, are we going to execute someone for executing somebody else? And does that make us as bad as they are? There's always that conversation. But on top of that, there are a lot of folks that focus on the inefficiency of it and what happens if it doesn't work the first time.
So one other thing that Beetlejuice does is you say his name 3 times, but he's still stuck in his own little dimension, and you get sucked down. It's usually like in the little model.
Yes.
Would you consider that false imprisonment, especially in the second one where they get sucked into like the therapist's office and he slaps the stitching on her mouth so she can't talk? Like, I mean, I know there's no real world equivalent, but the closest you could see, like, you were a former prosecutor. Yeah. You watched that scene. Like, what charges could you bring up just for like that therapy
zapping
scene?
Him into
yeah.
Well, there's I think it absolutely is kidnapping and false imprisonment for zapping somebody in. But then, how much responsibility does Dummy with the Ponytail have for just saying the name 3 times? I mean,
yes. You're so right, because I'm like, it's just Justin Theroux. I don't know his character's name, but Dummy with the Ponytail works. Well, he's hilarious in that movie.
Yeah, he is. He's a great actor, and in this movie, he plays the role of Dummy with the Ponytail. But we talked before about, maybe we believe in ghosts, maybe we don't, but we're not going to tempt fate, right? So Dummy just decides to say it 3 times, but Lydia didn't want to go,
right?
So she's in there. then she gets stitches through her mouth. So there's is that an assault, or is it just kind of like
doesn't he like force birth out of her with baby Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole can of worms. I don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah, baby Beetlejuice is my least favorite part of that movie. Like,
that was the part I literally texted my wife and I was like, that's just how our son crawls when he wants something. I was like, baby Beetlejuice is 100% my son.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry for you. But
love you, kiddo.
But it's okay. So then there's the assault for baby Beetlejuice. And I don't want to get too dark with this.
Sure, yes.
But there is the aspect of creating said baby There is the act of creating said baby against someone's will, and there's the act of forcing somebody to carry a baby full term against their will, and there's all of those things.
Is there a crime if I slashed my belly open and all my guts came out of just making you watch it?
Is it a crime to make me watch you
mutilate myself?
Mutilate yourself?
Yeah.
No.
No?
I can't really think of a crime for that. It's gross.
Indecent exposure.
It's an intentional infliction of emotional distress.
Oh, there you go. We found one.
But,
hey.
Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough for the intentional infliction.
Okay, one of the other 10 plots of Beetlejuice is that Astrid kind of wanders off and she finds this boy that she starts to like. We find out later that he's actually a ghost and that he actually murdered his family, and he's using a loophole by basically trading places with Astrid so he can go back to the real world and be human again.
And I guess she could see him because she has some Lydia powers.
She has the same kind of powers that her mom had.
Okay.
My question is, so he's a murderer,
right?
She has no idea.
Right.
If someone, I know we have like sex offender registries where if someone is a sex offender and they move in within X amount of miles from my house, I get an alert on an app. Is that with every crime? Like
no.
if can a murderer just move in wherever and not say a single thing to anybody?
Yeah.
Assuming that they got out of jail.
Yeah, let's assume someone murdered someone. They served a 20-year, 25-year jail sentence, rehabilitated themselves while they were in prison, or convinced a parole board that they were rehabilitated, were released from prison, moved up the street from you. There could be potentially the parole officer for that person might notify the neighborhood, but I'm not aware of a legal requirement for them to do that. And certainly for lesser crimes, you won't know that the person that lives up the street, shot a guy or anything along those lines. So we actually keep the criminal records private and we keep them confidential. There are ways around that. There are some general database searches, county by county. You can, we're here right now in Ventura County. I can type in Billy Patterson, find out all your crimes.
Sure.
But it's not connected to an app, and it's not connected the same way that a sex registration would.
I was thinking because it's like, well, not only does he murder his parents, he's basically kind of killing Astrid.
Well, yeah.
He's a repeat offender. Beetlejuice is also a repeat offender.
Sure.
What does just being a repeat offender versus I did a crime once, shouldn't have done that, but I did it, versus a repeat offender who's that's kind of who you are. I assume there are some judges that are just have no patience for the repeat offenders.
For
right?
sure.
Most judges, I would
For
think.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're talking about, from the largest level, multiple murderers, somebody who murders more than one person, in some states that could be what triggers the death penalty. In some states that would trigger multiple life sentences. I know people that have worked on cases where, someone was sentenced to 995 years to life.
Why do they do ridiculous numbers like that?
Because they lost on appeal some of the charges, and it went all the way down to 667 years to life.
But I'm saying, why would a judge give, obviously no human being is going to live to 600 years. Is it just as a fail safe in case
some of it is a fail safe to stop release on appeal. Mm-hmm. That's part of it. The other part of it, and I've seen judges do this, is looking out into the audience, acknowledging the victims' families, saying, this part of it is for you. This part of it is for you. I'm not going to, he doesn't get just 25 years to life because he killed more than one person. This is for you. This is for you. This is for you, to give them some sense of justice and fairness, so that, he doesn't just buy one, get one free. And that's most of the time the reasons for that.
Okay, let's in terms of Beetlejuice, let's strip it down then. Let's just say all he did was just he was a sexual harasser, because he's
for
a
sure
big harasser,
right.
And he just keeps coming in. I mean, like, harassment, I would assume, is not a felony, right? Well, maybe. Looking at what Beetlejuice does, would you consider him? I mean, he's crass. He's inappropriate.
Inappropriate, trespassing. I think the trespassing aspect of it is probably the most
okay. So he
interesting
keeps doing
of it
over and over and
Right.
over. At what point does like a misdemeanor that you are a repeat offender on become like, well, now we've got to like treat this differently?
Yeah, and sometimes there are some rules that. There are some types of violations of that can never go all the way up to a felony. I've seen a case where someone was in a position where they were repeatedly violating a restraining order. Part of the restraining order was don't have any contact with this girl. And he just could not stop. And we would go back to court, and there were 5 new text messages. And we would go back to court, and there were 7 new text messages. And we would go back to court, and at some point, they were arguing, at what point do you just throw him in jail and have him do a year in custody for every single one of the text messages that you do?
Right.
And I've seen that happen, and on lower level things. It wasn't like he was saying, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to kill you, or anything like that. It was miss you,
Sure, right. So
still,
not a
still
threat.
love you,
right?
Right. He's not like he's going around saying you suck or anything like that.
Which he should be well within his rights to do,
clearly,
in my opinion.
Clearly, but. You are correct that our judges, our prosecutors, our system is designed. At some point, you just got to stop.
So, okay, let me ask you this, because we talk about murder, which Beetlejuice does.
Yes,
but strip that away for a second. As we talked about in our Ghostbusters episode, it's not illegal to scare people, right?
Right. Boo.
Right. I mean, so like a lot of the things that Beetlejuice does,
right?
I mean, is the legality more just like he's not allowed to be in the house?
Yeah, I think so. If if you had hired the bioexorcist so that every time they walked out of the grocery store, they said, "Boo." Really, really scary.
As the snake or whatever.
Yeah. Like every single time they came out of the grocery store. At some point, that would end up being harassment in the same way that boo would end up being harassment. But I think the aspect of it that Beetlejuice is not going to be able to defend himself on is the fact that, the Maitlands hired him to come into their house that they died, so they no longer have a legal claim over. So the Dietzes would have a claim against Beetlejuice for trespassing in their house to scare them.
I'm trying to think of like if there's any way that you could argue like, but Lydia was allowing him to be there. I mean, by agreeing to marry him, even though that in itself was to stop something.
Yeah, Lydia never really agreed to have him there until he put everyone in moral danger,
right,
including the Maitlands, and she did it to stop him from killing these souls and hurting her family and doing all those things.
All right, let's get into some of these fan questions.
Cool.
Some of these are this one's really interesting. I like this because we actually do see exorcisms happen in the real world. It is a real thing. Sean wants to know, how does consent work for exorcisms? Whose permission do you need to remove them? Now, this gets really tricky, I would think, because if you're claiming someone is possessed and you have someone coming to do an exorcism, the person theoretically is under the influence of someone who owns the body.
Yeah, and I think the whole theory behind an exorcism is that the possession is bad. Mm-hmm. It is good to stop the possession. It's like administering antibiotics or a medicine to fight a disease or anything along those lines. So I think that's where the legalities of that tie up completely. So if we're just going to assume that possessions are bad, therefore exorcisms are good, they're just good in the nature of good. You don't need permission to give someone CPR, right? Or to zap them with the paddles, which would kill either of us if they did it right now. But you're trying to revive them, you're trying to bring them back to life, you're trying to save their life, you're trying to do all that. So I think all of those arguments would make it, to answer the question, you wouldn't need permission to do an exorcism. Now, there certainly have been cases over the years where instead of it being an actual exorcism, they were trying to, get some sort of behavior out of a person or something along those lines. So we've seen that abused in bad ways. But assuming just a pure, I think the question was just assuming just a pure exorcism.
Sure, yeah.
Exorcisms are good, therefore you don't need consent for them. In the same way that CPR is good and you don't need a consent for it, I guess.
All right, this is a great question. This is from Michelle. Could Beetlejuice or the Maitlands, either one, claim squatters' rights if they've been hanging around that same house for decades?
Yeah, they could.
Can you explain just a little bit? I think there is a lot of misconception about what squatters' rights are. I know it's different for different states, but for California at least.
Yeah, and it is generally so unfair and frowned upon that it doesn't often fly. I know I've heard stories of people, I need to go out and visit the old farmhouse to make sure that there wasn't somebody squatting on it or whatever. But, it needs to be open and notorious. It needs to be, they're paying the taxes. They're doing all of those things in order to establish the rights. And the idea is to put the person on notice who owns the property that if they don't do something, they're going to lose the property. And the idea also is to not have there be just abandoned property laying around,
right?
And so that's the reason why they granted it. It always felt wrong to me in law school. That was the whole concept of that was off to me and wrong to me, and I've actually seen some cases, over the last few years even, where people have done that, but have done it in such a way where they missed one element and got themselves in a lot of trouble. So, bad idea to try to be a squatter. And so I wouldn't encourage, the Maitlands or Beetlejuice to try squatters' rights. And then also, it goes back into, do we assume that ghosts can claim rights to property? And I say no.
Which you can check out our Ghostbusters episode if you want to hear our full talk about, do ghosts have rights? All right, this one's kind of interesting too. Could the living charge admission for a haunted house without paying royalties to all the ghosts that live inside? Are the Maitlands do a cut? Because that is a plot point we haven't talked about, is not only are the Dietzes not scared off, they actually want to turn this into almost like a theme park type circus thing where people can come see the dead,
Yes.
So are the Maitlands owed a cut of that profit? They are the attraction.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that the Maitlands were the attraction. I think that now at the very end it goes really wrong, right? Because weird creepy guy ends up doing the whole ceremony wrong, and it ends up almost killing them, and that's why they end up summoning Beetlejuice to save them. So him bringing the Maitlands in wasn't originally. I don't think part of the fun festival of them singing Harry Belafonte and singing Deo and doing that part of it. That's what they found fun and interesting and good. Well, but then I guess the Maitlands were kind of still supposedly in charge of that in the background, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think we should be paying Harry Belafonte rights, but probably not the Maitlands. I don't know.
I don't know. Just like if you're coming to see my haunting, like I
mean, at that point, it assumes that they would be up for duplicating the process, right? And sure,
don't you love the ones
I would pay the Maitlands royalties. Why
don't you love these ghost ones? They're my favorite.
I can't wait till Thanksgiving.
All right, speed round.
Okay,
because everyone in this movie is some shade of terrible, except Winona Ryder. You're great. Let's talk about first and foremost. I don't even remember this character's name, but the murder boy from Beetlejuice Beetlejuice.
Yeah, murder boy.
So would you defend him knowing that ultimately he just wants to be a real boy? He's like a murderous Pinocchio.
No, I would not defend him. He killed his parents too, and then tricked a 16-year-old girl into giving up her right to live. So no, hell with him. I don't like murder boy.
We're not even going to honor him with his name because we don't know it.
We could pause the script and figure out who you are. We decided not to.
All right, let's talk about the Maitlands. Technically, They are kind of, that's not their house anymore. Right. They do, I mean, not very well, but they try to harass the Dietzes out of there. Would you defend the Maitlands?
I would defend the Maitlands because on top of all of that, they were stuck in their house and they can't leave.
Right.
And so they're trying to get these horrible people out of their house. I think we're designed to feel sympathy for them. That's how the plot was written. That's how the script was written. And yeah, I feel sympathy for them. I would defend the Maitlands.
Okay. Would you defend, what did you call him?
Ponytail boy?
Yeah.
Or no, what did I call it? I didn't call him Ponytail boy.
You called him like dummy pony. I don't remember what you called him.
Dummy ponytail guy.
Yeah. Would you defend dummy ponytail guy? Because he really is a piece of trash. He is just using Winona Ryder. At that point, she has a show.
Yeah. And it comes out that he's
been embezzling from her.
And then he goes to the retreat for dead people or people who are grieving or whatever. No, he's a terrible. No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I might start to represent him and give him some advice that he has to cut off the little ponytail before we go to court. And then say, never mind. I changed my mind. I don't want to represent you.
All right. Now, think about this. Don't just think of the first movie. Think of everything you saw. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like they make Beetlejuice try to be slightly more sympathetic in the second one.
I would agree. Yeah.
For everything. The harassment. The murder. Just who he is as a person. He does help. If it weren't for Beetlejuice, Astrid would be dead. Like
this
dead,
is true.
dead.
And I love Jenna Ortega.
Yeah. So Beetlejuice, are you taking the case?
No. At baby Beetlejuice, he lost me. If we just
That's the line.
if we just ended after the first movie, like, you know, the sandworms and whatever, like, you know, and him just being gross, I probably wouldn't have defended him anyway. But good Lord, I mean, creating baby Beetlejuice and having it crawl all over the
It's pretty wild. I know it's all kind of like a fantasy, like she's not really pregnant, it's not a real baby, but still, especially the first time you see it, it's incredibly jarring.
Yeah, I've only seen this movie once, and it was the one time, and it was and
the second time it comes back in the movie in the dream sequence is even more just like, whoa, you know. I mean, that's another thing we didn't even talk about, like not only so going back to the stalking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's one thing to show up in the crowd. He shows up in her bed at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to be a lot.
Yeah. And God. Yeah. I'm not defending him. No way.
No.
No.
The juice is not loose.
Juice. Oh.
It is not showtime for Doug Ridley.
No, it is not. It is not showtime.
But
he does
you know
not
what?
get to have me as his lawyer.
Yeah, it is showtime for you because we have tons of shows that you guys can check out right now, right here on our YouTube channel. Go check out the Ghostbusters conversation because that actually does feel, oddly enough, like a very good companion.
It does.
The legal aspects of ghosts.
And happy Halloween to everybody. It's the month of Halloween.
It's the month of Halloween. We are very excited. Or if you're out on a run trying to, work off all that Halloween candy, take us on your phone.
Or the person that you hire to walk around and say I suck all the time can listen to it while he's waiting for you to come out of the grocery store.
If you're an I suck process server, which you should be well within your rights to do.
According to Billy. This is not legal advice. According to Billy.
Yeah, but my advice is still pretty good.
Yeah, we went to the same school.
You can download us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Doug, thank you so much as always, and we will see you guys next week.
The juice is loose.